Wait a minute. The Goodwill outlet is $2.89 a pound now? This used to be my happy place. When I first started coming here 5 years ago, it was $1.19 a pound. What in the world? So now we're paying $3 a piece for things? Let me go show you around. I knew it wasn't great when I walked in. Let's go look around.
So I always know I'm in trouble when I go grab a cart and there's only two or three left. But what really shocked me was the sign in the front, $2.89 a pound. And then I quick looked at the books, 99 cents. That used to be 19 cents an inch. So it was crowded. And I made my way to the clothing bins first, which was the least of all of the bins with people around it. So this looked interesting, an Eddie Bauer down-lined vest. So that was the first thing to go in my cart. I gotta tell you, it smelled like it's never, ever, ever been a pleasant way to shop. But on this particular day, everything just smelled. I was at the bins in Chaska, Minnesota, and you can see the amount of clothing that they have just down this one row. What I was disappointed in finding out is they are down now to one row of hard goods. And we'll get to that. But the items now, if you're talking $2.89 a pound, that means one sweater that you pick up is $3. What? I am so, it's not angry. I mean, they have every right to charge what they want. They can do whatever they want. But I'm so just disengaged with this bin shopping now. I have been spending my summer weekends and early fall weekends going to as many church rummage sales as I possibly can. Headed over to the bins for the books. I look at books that are leather-bound Bibles, coffee table books. Now I have a grandson, kind of peeked at books for him. But, as you would think and feel, they're not the cleanest. So I'm remiss on bringing books home from the Goodwill outlet for him. This particular Goodwill outlet, there are 3 in Minnesota, 1 in Chaska, 1 in Brooklyn Park, and the third one that I've never been to is St. Paul. I've been encouraged by a couple of viewers to try that one out. I'm curious, if you are local to Minnesota, what are the prices at the Goodwill in Brooklyn Park and the Goodwill in St. Paul? Is it the same? Is it $2.89 a pound? So simply for no other reason, I stuck with the clothing, which is my least favorite item to shop for. I saw this pile of look like kind of dollhouse furniture, which looked kind of fun and funky, that was left in a pile. And I think the reason it was left there, it did go in my cart. But after I looked it up, it looked to be not worth a whole lot of money. So I ended up putting that back. So down these rows of bins, what I'm looking for are vintage children's clothing. I love picking up scarves. You'll see that the belts saved me this trip. I'll do a little haul at the end. It's very, very minimal. I spent just over $14. I filled one IKEA bag, not even half full. This is so different. I have come out of the Goodwill outlet with 4 IKEA bags full. I look in these clothing bins for vintage lingerie, bras, silk and polyester scarves, lightweight items, but now even more so lightweight items. I look for, wool sweaters, like I said, silk, anything high quality, new with tags. This one didn't have any real redeeming qualities to keep. I did make my way over to the shoes. They have one row that's all the way over at the end over there that's leather and belts and shoes. I noticed the other, when the sign at the front, you're only allowed 1 cart per person. It's everyone just puts their carts there. And then you're pushing and shoving to try and even get through the row. So I don't know if people are using more than 1 carts, but they abandon them and then they go shopping on their own. It got to the point where I just left the cart back at the where you pick them up, and I just carried the one IKEA bag on my shoulder because there was so much energy. I just knew when I walked in, it was loud. The voices were loud. The music was loud. I'm sounding like my mother. It was just loud and not pleasant. And so I was so careful on the items I pick up. There used to be so much vintage textiles. I loved picking up Afghans and quilts. They used to give me a per piece price. Now it's based on a pound again. So I am not going to spend, $10 when they used to give them away for $2. They're just wanting to get rid of things. What are they doing with all these items? Look how much is here. So I've stopped picking up quilts. I've stopped picking up Afghans. Even the leather handbags, it has to now be really special. I'm going to do my best to stay away from here. I'm going to stock up as best I can, all the more so on these church rummage fill-a-bag sales. I might start going to estate sales. Those are fun on the last day. This has lost all of its interest. This is the hard good bins. It literally was trash. I've never seen it like this. I did pick up this bag of yarn. I ended up keeping just 2. I ended up tossing the rest back. It was too heavy. I was like, it was literal trash. And it used to be where you get in these hard good bins, and if you just got to the bottom, you would find all of these treasures. It was so much fun to open up boxes and kind of get to the bottom of the bin. No more. If this is indicative, if you've been to the bins by you, if this is indicative of what's going on, they're obviously pulling the good things and going online with them. And so good for them. It just was really just such an unpleasant day. So maybe it was an off day. I really would like to know, what are you finding at your Goodwill outlet? Do you go to the Goodwill outlet? Is it just like I'm showing you? Because I was completely disappointed in what I found today. I have picked up toys. I've picked up everything. I'm willing to try and look and flip anything and everything. And today it just wasn't there. The whole point of the bins was cheap prices for secondhand goods. Why is this creeping towards retail prices? At this point, it is cheaper to go to a yard sale and the stuff is cleaner. I shouldn't need to bring a calculator to go shop secondhand. The items that I found was torn clothing and, of course, single shoes, which drive me crazy. I've seen some people at their bins, the shoes are rubber banded together. Not here. You're lucky. I did find one little pair of pink girls' hunter boots. I did find a pair of shoes, but most often you are searching and searching for the one remaining shoe. They're calling it sustainability, but how sustainable is it to charge more for unusable junk? I can't figure it out. We all talk about it. The CEO's salary is public record, and let's just say that that is not thrift level salary that he's making, he or she. And if you're getting everything from a free donation, why is there constant price hikes? It feels so much, we've all talked about it, that they've forgotten their mission. And the focus has shifted from the community to simply profit. And the hot topic button that resellers are blamed for everything, but we're not the reason that Goodwill has raised their prices. If anything, the resellers are keeping it out of landfills. We are the recycling system nowadays. My feeling is that resellers and thrifters built the culture that made Goodwill popular, and now they're just simply pricing us out. Thrifting used to be for people trying to save money, and now it's for people just chasing trends. There are influencers doing thrift hauls for fashion, and that's great, but it's changing who these stores are catering to. Goodwill isn't competing with local resale anymore. Now it's competing with Target's clearance rack. I guess that must be their competition. And when did thrifting become like a luxury hobby for people? I am convinced that the stores are cherry picking donations before they even hit the floor. vintage t-shirts, name brands. I believe that they're all being pulled for their online auctions. That's why you'll rarely find like real Levi's or Nike. I'm not a vintage tee flipper, but I don't see any sort of interesting t-shirts. I used to be able to bring home kind of cool t-shirts for our boys. I don't find a single one anymore. I did grab these purple gloves, which I thought might be vintage. They weren't. I ended up tossing them back. They were Morona, Target brand. Do love, and just recently sold some vintage leather gloves. I do love picking those up. I find those at church rummage sales. So my feeling is that the bins used to be like the wild, wild west of treasure hunting. I really did enjoy it. This is what it looks like when a new bin comes out. That people just hover when the new row gets brought out. People just hover. So I go where it's a little more quiet. I go to always look at the end. If you're going to shop at the bins, always look at the ends. People they were literally throwing far items people don't want end up getting thrown back. And I almost got hit by something when I was here. So I always look kind of at the ends. The throwback pile you can find some cool things at the throwback pile. So like I was saying, the wild, wild west of treasure hunting, and now it's the leftovers of leftovers. So my feeling is if they're going to act like a business and not a charity, then shoppers should start treating them, Goodwill, like one and just shop elsewhere. That's my take on this whole thing. If that's the way it's going to be, then let's just shop elsewhere. And I'm curious if resellers left, do you think anything would really change? I'm not sure. I still love the thrill of the hunt, but just like in gambling, it's starting to feel that the house is always going to win. My mom used to love to go to Las Vegas, and they didn't build those casinos on all of the money they gave back. There's those little pink hunter boots that I ended up finding a match for. So I did bring those home, but the house is always winning in this case. It used to feel like shopping kind of at a community, and now it truly simply feels like a corporation. So before I go, I always go off to a quiet place and put the one bag down. I only filled a tiny bag. I'll show you that at the end. But I always go try and be in a little quiet place. And so maybe it's time for a new version of the bins made for thrifters and not against us. So here's my bag, my one little tiny bag. Let me pull it apart and show you what I got. This is it. A new with tags sun hat, a little vintage lingerie. It's a robe, a scarf that ended up not even being silk, but I like the pattern, a little Jessica McClintock vintage handbag, 2 skeins of yarn, the hunter boots, a bag tag that we'll just use for ourselves, 2 Vera Bradley handbags, and 6 belts. That braided black one, this one right here, is Brighton, so I'll do okay with that. On this rope belt, I realized some of those little coin things are missing. I didn't do great. I did okay. I'll make my money back. That's never my goal. Just really, really disappointing.